Well, while largely religious wars are being fought in the Middle East, the United States is not entirely being spared, although we haven't broken out the guns yet with regard to one nation under God and the Pledge of Allegiance. There is a lively conversation going on about this right now. The Deputy General Counsel of the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty and the lead attorney on a case in which that fund is suing the state of Massachusetts, if I have this right, is with us. Eric Rosbach, BeckettFund.org is the website. Eric, welcome to the program.
Hi.
Give us a background, a little background on what's going on here.
Sure. So actually, I'm on the side of the school district in the case.
School district, okay.
Yeah. So what happened is that for many years there's been lawsuits brought against the words "under God" and the Pledge of Allegiance, primarily by Michael Newdow, but some others as well, and those have typically been rejected by the federal court system. Saying that it does not violate separation of church and state to have that in the pledge,
Right.
And that's based.
Is that the position of the school district?
And that's the position of the school district, and that's my position too. This case is a little bit different because it's in state court, and it's also relying on the Equal Protection Clause of the Massachusetts Constitution. Mm. So it's taking a little bit different tack than the previous.
Yeah, they're asserting that by saying under God instead of under Allah, we are specifying a Judeo-Christian deity.
Sorry, I didn't catch the first part of the question.
My understanding of the way that the lawsuit is being framed is that this atheist couple who are suing you are saying that because it says under God rather than under Allah or under Shiva or under Buddha, it is basically specifying a particular religion, giving preference of one religion over another.
Yeah, I think they're, to be fair to their position, I think they're just saying that because it contains a word that is often used, in a religious context, the word God, that it then is thereby making a theological claim. That is, it's making a theological claim about the existence of God, and that even though these kids have the absolute right to opt out of saying the pledge, that's a problem.
I'm assuming you're familiar with the history of the Pledge of Allegiance and when under God was added and why.
So it was originally proposed just by a private citizen in the 1880s. Or it might be the 1890s. It wasn't enacted into law until 1942.
And it did not have under God in it at that time.
It did not have under God in it at that time. It did undergo a few amendments prior to that time, but the first time it went into federal statute was in 1942. And shortly thereafter, there were a number of lawsuits concerning Jehovah's Witnesses, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't say the pledge at all because they believe it's idol worship.
Right.
And so
they don't fly flags for the same reason. I mean, it's almost a digression from the. But I mean, the under God was the response. My understanding of it is that it was a response basically to the McCarthy era, to the godless communism. We're going to push back against the godless communists and say that we're under God here.
Well, it's actually, I actually think that the way it came into the pledge in the 50s was based on contrasting the United States with the Soviet Union, but it was actually trying to make the point that we have rights that precede the state. That is, that we have absolute human rights. The Declaration of Independence says we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, which means rights that can't be taken away from us, even if we want to alienate them, take them, send them away from ourselves on our own. We can't do that. We can't get rid of our right to free speech. We can't get rid of our right to freedom of religion.
It doesn't say that. It says one nation under God with freedom and liberty for all.
Actually, the term under God it's a legal term and a legal phrase that's been used since the 1200s in the Anglo-American tradition. It first shows up in Bracton, which is basically the first English legal treatise.
So are you personally of the opinion that that asserting the existence of a deity by a government entity is not a violation of the First Amendment's assertion that the government shall not select any particular deity for our country?
Well, I don't think the pledge. My position is that the pledge doesn't actually do that. The pledge doesn't say. It doesn't say there is a God. It doesn't say that there's a Holy Trinity or that there's a prophet.
It certainly says there's a God.
Like that.
We couldn't be under one if there wasn't one.
What's that again?
We couldn't be under a God if there wasn't one. I mean, it certainly says that there's a God.
It does.
And a single God.
It's as a presupposition as opposed to a proposition.
Yeah, but I mean, why isn't there an S on the end? Why doesn't it say under gods?
Well, because I think it's actually a philosophical statement, and also
it's a monotheistic statement.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a monotheistic statement. If we wanted to make a philosophical statement, we could say under gods, and that would include Shiva and Buddha. Well, I don't think Buddhists even think of Buddha as a god, but you get my point. And Allah, and who again was the prophet. He's not a god, but
Well, let me put it to you this way: do you think that the Creator that's referred to in the Declaration of Independence that should be creators, or
no? I think that the Declaration of Independence
that people that came from different religious backgrounds at that time, including deists, for example, could agree on as a formula for what we. As a philosophical idea.
The Declaration of Independence is not a legal document in the United States. It's not part of our jurisprudence. It's not part of constitutional America. It's a founding document. It's a declaration of independence from Great Britain, but not, it isn't. Whatever the Declaration of Independence says is not law in the United States. So I don't think that it matters, the fact that the Declaration of Independence...
It is actually frequently used by the Supreme Court to figure out what the law means in the United States, and it obviously is still in operation.
When?
We're not part of Great Britain anymore.
When has the Supreme Court referenced the Declaration of Independence in anything other than a rhetorical way?
There's a number of cases, and actually I think we've cited some in our briefing in this case.
Could you name one?
I'd have to go back and look at my brief for a cite, and I don't have it in front of me.
Well, but beyond that, I mean, even if the Supreme Court says it, that doesn't make it so. But because again, how can I'm saying?
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, yeah, actually, I'm with Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln on this.
The Constitution, what the Supreme Court says, really.
No, the Constitution actually, Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution says that the Supreme Court has to operate under regulations established by Congress, not the other way around.
Yeah, except that the Constitution gives them some power. So, for example, if the Congress decided to say the Supreme Court can, never review a free speech case because we don't like free speech anymore, the Supreme Court would basically say, sorry, the Constitution requires us to.
No, they would not. They could not. You cannot find that in the Constitution. You cannot find judicial review in the Constitution. It's not there. It was asserted in 1803 in Marbury versus Madison by George Marshall, and there was such a blowback from Thomas Jefferson that court never again used judicial review. In fact, the next time it was used was in 1854 in Dred Scott, which just worked out wonderfully for the country. But we've digressed.
Yes, we have.
Eric Rosbach, we'll have to continue the conversation another time. But I find it fascinating. I'm personally of the opinion this time to undo the mistake we made in the 50s and take under God out of the pledge. And you're of the opinion that it's just fine there, and I guess we'll have to leave that as a gentleman's disagreement. BeckettFund.org is the website. Thanks for being with us, Eric.
Thank you, Tom.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Is it time to rewrite the Pledge of Allegiance? Maybe we could slip some stuff in there. Like, not under the Supreme Court?